So could Roman Cancel be a hint towards the future of Universus? Roman Cancel and the Sun Jin Woo Challenger and Shadow Monarch bundle gave us a aspect of the game that has never really been introduced before in reference and token cards. Cards that exist outside of the realms of play. They do not need to be part of your deck list. So for competitive purposes, these are unpredictable outside factors. You do not know what you're going to be up against, because your Sun Jin Woo E-Rank Hunter and the Shadow Monarch bundle, you have the Assassin and Shadow Monarch skill trees, and your opponent doesn't need to tell you which one they're running until the game begins. You choose it at the start of turn. This has its own downside with things like Rando Spirit Gun, where you cannot repeat any of your once per turn abilities because they're not printed on face. This allows for a wider variance of what characters are able to do, as well as having the same character having multiple abilities. Going again, sticking with Sun Jin Woo, who is the only person to have the skill trees, you do not know if you're facing Assassin or Shadow Monarch until you actually come across them. Moving on to Roman Cancel. Roman Cancel is a ability that is given to you via Tension. Tension creates a Roman Cancel in your momentum, and this is a token card. This is not a card that you need in your deck. This is not a card you need to declare to your opponent you're running. So you're able to generate this momentum with 4 distinct once per turn abilities out of nowhere. And because of this, it widens the scope of what design are able to do. This is the only token we have at the minute, but it has been put to us that we may see more of tokens in the future. We could see token backups, foundations, attacks. These having abilities that create these tokens out of nowhere, giving you artificial resources, giving you artificial support, giving you artificial offense that if it leaves its designated zone, such as the stage or the card pool, that it just disappears, it blinks out of existence. Having a situation like multiple, then where instead of having to use the top cards of our decks, we could spend momentum to generate token blank copies of attacks, being able to generate essentially illusionary foundations. That means that we can have additional resources for our turn, but we lose them on defense. We cannot just sit there and build up. It could be a good balancing tool. It could be a good offensive tool. It could be a great way to expand design. And for me, solve something that has been missing from the game since the change over to characters not having difficulty or check values since Attack on Titan Battle for Humanity, and that's character stacking. When we saw Pumat Soul from the Critical Role Heroes of Alexandria, I said this should be a character stacker. The way that the character's abilities work, the way that the character works in Universe, he should be a character stacker with Pumat Prime and then either additional characters or additional backups. Now, if we got, say, Ghidorah in the new Godzilla, or Pumat Soul in the future, or any of these characters that love about, if we get to see more of Ectoplasm, or Twice, or Toga, if we can then go generate a copy of your opponent's characters, you can use their abilities, and you can use the abilities on this token as though it was a backup until the end of your turn, or at the start of your next turn, it disappears. Same with the attacks. If you could go, okay, multiple has been rewritten to generate tokens, and you go, cool, multiple free, I spend 3 momentum, and now I get 3 blank tokens of this card. It doesn't have any text box, it just has the speed and damage, and I think that's very cool. Having things like Pumat Soul being able to generate simulacrums of himself and be able to go, cool, I now am able to copy my own abilities. Character stackers are very powerful, very cool, but have their own drawbacks. This is a great way to reintroduce that aspect, as well as open up design to have some very cool abilities. Monomer from My Hero Academia has the ability to copy an opponent's work for a short period of time. Putting that on a token would be very cool. You can generate and have all this freedom of control by having foundations that copy themselves and go, okay, to the end of the turn, I have a second copy of this. It just seems like a very cool step forward, but what also has a double-edged sword of generating free resources. If you've got an attack that can multiply itself, then you put yourself in the situation of when characters can draw too many cards. Their hand size, which is supposed to be a limit, no longer exists. As well as the more simple, the more basic something is, or the more likely there are going to be characters and cards that can abuse it. If we get cards that come in and say, "Cool, generate 6 attacks for as tokens," and then I'm say we get a reprint of Dabby 1 in the experience bundle, I can go, "Cool, this one's got +3 damage, this one's got +3 damage," and my opponent then goes, I need to block everything because everything's coming in hot and heavy. We talked about this on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I was talking about it with Mitch and Cam, and tokens are very cool, very powerful aspects of the game that could lead to new and interesting ways to play. But is that something the game needs? Is that increasing the mental load on existing and new players? Does that make the game more appealing? I don't think so, and that might be a controversial opinion. I think tokens are absolutely solid. I think I think this has been a long time coming, but I don't know how viable attacks and backups and foundations and tokens would be. They would have to be very fairly statted. They would have to have very good drawbacks and very good restrictions to kind of equalize the benefit you're getting for this cost. Free attacks have always been an issue. The ability to just throw an attack and have it not need a check, be able to clog the cap, be able to put in your capital. I've only got 1 attack, but if I can turn this attack into 4, then I'm sitting pretty and I've got my defensive up. It's a tough situation. It really is. I'm not too quite sure. I came on immediately like with a hype of, yes, tokens are going to be really cool, but they are a double-edged sword, and I'm very interested to see where design will go and if we will see tokens again. There are things that we have seen that have come into on sets that have never been seen again, and it could just be that we may need to see more Guilty Gear before we see more tokens. But for me, it's a very interesting concept. It's a brand new aspect, and it's something that the community should be discussing and exploring, because if we like tokens, if we like this free generation of momentum, and if it works out well for competitive play and isn't abused, isn't abusable, then we may see more of it. The game, we're the ones that can show through our support and how we play what works and what doesn't work to the company. But I'm optimistic that UVS knows how to handle tokens, and I'm very interested in the future tokens, whether that's in character stacking, free attacks, limited resources, supporting backups. I'm very interested to see where tokens go from here. This is their first introduction, and they've already kind of had a bit of a shake up on how people play the game. So I'm very interested to see where tokens could go from there. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think tokens are a good thing or a bad thing? Should Roman Cancel have just been a regular momentum out? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all at game night. This is Brett with Universus, bringing you theories, news, and more. Win, lose, or draw. Bye.